hope you like garages because I don't have anywhere else to film right now. I really love Micah working from home because we get to spend so much time together and he gets to spend a lot of time with Brogan, but it's definitely hard to film when there's someone in the house all the time. They're also completely demolishing the lot behind our apartment, so you're gonna hear some construction noises. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. I didn't really want to film in my car again. The lighting's actually... Oh my god, that's so loud. The lighting's not too bad in here, so hopefully this looks fine when I'm editing it, because this is all we got. Oh, that's so annoying. Today we're going to be talking about how I landed a job as an aesthetic nurse with no experience. You can too. I'm going to talk to you guys about every step I took and how it played out for me. Disclaimer, I do live in Southern California now, and there are a lot more jobs in this field because there's a higher demand for it. When I lived in Indianapolis, I didn't know anybody that was an aesthetic nurse, but now I know quite a few people that are aesthetic nurses. It's more of a viable career option here. I'm going to talk to you guys about everything I did to land my job as an aesthetic nurse. Starting off, I decided to leave the bedside. I decided to leave bedside 3 shifts into working here in Southern California. I have a whole other video about that. If you haven't heard, I decided that I was going to leave bedside. That is step 1. Kind of make that line in the sand that you want to try something new. Next thing I did was update my resume. I use a website called resume.io. It's free. I'm not paid to sponsor them or anything. That is my #1 resume building website because they do not charge you anything. I cannot stand when you make a full resume on a website and then you get to the end and they want you to pay to export your resume. Absolutely not. This website is fully and completely free, which I love. It's like my favorite thing. I have recommended this website to everybody and I highly recommend it to you as well. So a little bit more about how I updated my resume. Obviously, I don't have experience as an aesthetic nurse. I was a labor and delivery nurse. I worked in an emergency department. None of that really relates to aesthetic nursing, but what things have I done that could relate to aesthetic nursing? Well, I've given IM and sub-Q injections, not in the face, but I do know how to handle a needle. I know how to draw medications. That's something that I can add to my resume as a skill that I'm comfortable with. I've assessed patients. That's something that you'll be doing every day as an aesthetic nurse. Even if you don't have relevant nursing experience, I would add any experience that is relevant. If you've worked in a store, then you have experience selling. That's a huge part of aesthetic nursing. People are coming to you for consultations. They want to know, what do I need? What do you think I need? And you need to be able to assess them and decide what products we should recommend to them, what services or treatments that we should recommend to them. It's a little bit like selling, even though it is in their best interest. You're trying to help them, not just sell to them. Having that sales experience can be very relevant. Also, customer service experience, that's huge. If you have customer service experience, that can really help you as an aesthetic nurse, being able to talk to people. I found that working in a boutique in the past actually was nearly just as relevant as my nursing experience. Write whatever you can, any skills that are relevant, and sometimes what can be helpful to you is looking at examples of aesthetic nurse resumes. So if you search aesthetic nurse resume, you can look at examples of what other aesthetic nurses have put on their resume and see if they've worded anything a certain way, like a way that you like, that you can now put onto your resume. All right, so then my next step, I Googled aesthetic nurse jobs near me. Google has a pretty cool jobs feature where they list all jobs they pull from Indeed, Monster, and they put all the jobs that are near you. You can set filters like how close or how far you want the jobs to be from you. And I started by applying to all aesthetic nurse jobs that came up there. Now, you can word this a few different ways. You can search aesthetic nurse, cosmetic nurse, nurse injector, even dermatology nurse, plastic surgery nurse. It kind of depends on what you're really looking for, but those were all things that I searched. Once I had applied to all of those listings, I started to delve a little bit deeper into my search. I started Googling Botox near me, med spa near me, and I started looking for highly rated med spas, plastic surgery centers. I went onto their website and I found their contact information. I found their emails and I sent them an email. Subject line, interested in applying. Body of the email, hi, I'm a local registered nurse. I'm interested in working at your med spa. Here is what I think would make me a good fit. I've attached my resume for you to review. I completely understand if you're not in the market for new nurses at this time, but I would hope you'd consider me if you ever are. Thank you, your name. That's pretty much all I said. I tried to find med spas that had really good reviews or that had other nurses working, because sometimes they're just run by one nurse practitioner and they might not need a registered nurse under them. But still something to think about. I found that that was very helpful for me, and I actually was able to land 7 interviews in a 2 or 3 day span of doing this. I was pretty surprised by that as well. Then I really decided what was important to me. I did my 7 interviews. I got offers that ranged from $35 an hour to $80 an hour, and I kind of thought about what I really wanted out of a first aesthetic nursing job. Sure, $80 an hour is great. It's a really, really steady income, but what's their training program like? You're coming in with probably no relevant experience. You want to make sure that you're going to be safe and you're going to be able to provide your patients with the absolute best treatment. I wanted an aesthetic that saw. Every time I talk, he's out there like, I wanted a job that had a very clear training plan. So I actually accepted a job that had a little bit, maybe less hourly than some of the other jobs and was a little bit farther away. During my interview, they had a very set training plan for how they wanted to do things. They have a plan. You're going to come in and you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to learn this in this order. They're going to send you to certification classes through Allergan and Botox. Those certifications will travel with you everywhere. They'll make you more hireable in the future, more valuable to a new employer. That's the kind of thing that you're going to want to be looking for. Certifications are everything. They really can help teach you a lot. They can make you a better and a safer injector, and they can make your customers trust you more. I found that the job that really spoke to me the most was during the interview. She talked a lot about training and kind of understood that I was coming in at the ground level for experience, but that I wanted to grow and that they wanted to grow with me. I would start on lasers, laser hair removal, laser facials, and then over time I would be sent to injectables training before ever injecting on a patient. That made me feel very secure. I don't want to be thrown into a job where they're like, oh, you'll learn as you go. Go ahead, start injecting, because that's someone's face. I wouldn't want someone just practicing injections on my face if I wasn't really knowing that they were practicing necessarily. And that just meant a lot to me. I felt like that was really, really good that they were able to communicate that. Some of the other interviews I was a part of, I was told that I would just be learning on the job on live patients, and I just don't know how comfortable I would have been doing that. Another example for an interview I got was somewhere that did IV hydration, and they were so nice, so flexible. The schedule was good and the pay was good, but I would have been strictly doing IV hydration, which is just starting an IV, giving someone fluids based on what they need, and that was kind of it. There's going to be a lot of downtime. It really would have been quite an easy job, but I wanted something where I was going to learn every shift, because I know myself and I know I would probably get bored over time, and I know that ultimately I would probably like to eventually get my NP and hopefully have my own like med spa or something like that long term. Now that I've kind of seen how this all works, I'm really interested in that, and I don't know how much relevant experience I would have gotten working in that environment. So really think like 3 month, 6 month, 1 year, 5 year plan for what these jobs pan out like, because you don't want to go into something and then realize that you're sort of pigeonholed in where your experience is going to leave you at the end. Something I didn't do, but something you can do, is look up local injectables training near you. Now you are going to have to pay for these classes, which is why I didn't personally go this route. I wanted to find an employer that would pay to send me to these classes, but you might be different and you might want to spend that money up front and do this injectable training so you can hit the ground running with a new position. I would recommend looking at Allergan, the Botox manufacturer, seeing if they offer any classes near you. There's other websites you can go on that will show you local injectables training, such as Botox and fillers. I felt like I wanted to do the route of being hired and then sent to training, but there's really no right or wrong option. I'm sure that when I'm editing this, I'm going to be putting my head through drywall because I'm going to realize that you literally can't hear a word I'm saying. What did I do after my interview and after I was hired? So I went to YouTube, my favorite, and I started watching relevant YouTube videos. So once I knew where I was going to be working and that I was going to be starting using lasers, I looked up what lasers they use at my new job, and I actually watched the how-to videos on these lasers, how they set them up, how they use them, kind of like the user manuals but video form. I do this because I want to kind of walk in and it not be the first time I've ever seen these things in my life. Sure, it might not be the exact model they have, but at least I'm kind of like, okay, I've seen this before. I've seen how it's operated. I watched YouTube videos on like day in the life of an aesthetic nurse, so I could kind of like mentally picture what my day might look like or what kind of things I could run into or experience, which was really, really helpful. Joanna the Nurse is like a great channel that I have been watching to kind of give myself some experience through that. Obviously that's not like experience you can put on a resume. I feel like that's still helpful, at least mentally for me it is. I also looked up some of the contraindications for laser hair removal, laser facials, Botox filler, because at least then, like even if I don't really know anything, I know how to be like at least somewhat of a safe nurse. I wanted to look up what things make you not a good candidate for laser hair removal so that when I'm training, I kind of have that in my back pocket. Like, okay, at least I know like what you can't really do or what maybe not to do. And also like as I move forward with learning injectables, I have been watching some YouTube videos about like muscles of the face, nerves of the face, everything like that. And that's to kind of help maybe solidify. Oh my gosh, the light turned off. I miss my studio. So I do that because then when I am presented with that material in my certification class, it's not gonna be the first time I've ever seen it before. It might kind of help jog my memory a little bit. I also looked up Botox injection techniques, and the reason I did that is because I feel like just sort of even learning the way that people do it, even if I'm not doing it right now, is kind of helpful. I watched some of the videos that had a lot of views and a lot of positive comments, and it was really interesting. They talked about like the depth of the needle and how different things can affect the face and like things you want to avoid. That's all really helpful because then when I go to my certification classes and maybe they say the same thing, maybe they say something different, but I've gotten a little bit of a ground level beginning understanding of things. I don't know. I just really like to learn. I like to just grab information and run with it. And that's what I did to help myself feel like I was maybe moving forward in a situation where I won't be presented with that for a little bit of time. Does that make sense? That's really everything. That's how I got a job as an aesthetic nurse with no experience. And I hope that this is helpful in getting you a job as an aesthetic nurse. I've had so much fun. I've worked 4 or 5 shifts now, and I seriously cannot wait to go to work. I work tomorrow and I'm just looking forward to it so much. I don't know, it's a totally different field of nursing. It's totally optional to get these services done. When someone's coming in to get them done, they're usually, I don't know, willing to do it. It's a little bit different when you're in the hospital and a lot of the patients don't want to be there. It's a sad reason they're in the hospital, or even with labor and delivery, there's a lot of pain involved. I loved it. I still think that eventually I could go back to it, but this is really different and really nice. I love helping people think of like what services would be best for them. It's just really different, really laid back. There's no anxiety involved for me, at least, because I can always tell myself it's not a life on the line. It's not a baby's life on the line right now. Like the things that I'm doing are a lot more surface level, and I was just texting a really good friend of mine that I worked with in Indiana, and we were talking about how it's weird when you're in a non-traditional nursing role, like not a bedside nurse in the hospital, to feel almost like less than as a nurse because you're not running codes and doing all the crazy town stuff. And it's like your nurse identity is a little bit threatened. You just feel like weird. Like, am I really a nurse? But I don't feel like a nurse because I'm not scared. My stomach doesn't hurt for 12 hours. I'm trying to like argue that mentality in my own mind, because why do I have to put myself through that? Why should anyone put themselves through that if it makes them that uncomfortable? I don't think they should. I don't think you should. I want you to be happy. I'm happy. Everybody should be happy. Do what you love. Find a better job. I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I will talk to you next time. Bye, guys. Ooh, almost dropped my camera.